Yo guys, welcome back to a brand new video. Today guys, we have a big one. We are going to be ranking every single GX card that has ever come out. Yes, this includes GXs from Sun and Moon all the way to Cosmic Eclipse. This will include tag teams, it will include promos. All of them are all going to be ranked. There's actually 2 GXs I think that are unreleased, which I will also include in this ranking when we get to their certain things. So this will be a really cool way to start off the new year, the new decade, by ranking all the GXs we've ever gotten. Also, it's also important because with Sword and Shield, GXs will no longer be printed. There's not going to be any more new GX cards when Sword and Shield releases. So they're all going to be done. So why not recap all of them in one thing? We are going to be ranking this on 6 different tiers because there are so many. First off, we have the worst tier. These are the worst of the worst. We have the meh tier. These cards are not great. They're not bad. They're just pretty meh. Then we have the decent tier where these cards are actually decent. They saw a little bit of play. They were niche. Then we have the good tier where the cards were good, not great. And then of course we have the great tier. And then the 6th tier we have the god tier. These are the best of the best. Now I will say, a lot of GXs on here are going to be ranked specifically on how well they were when they were big. So there might be a few GX cards in different higher tiers than what you expect. It's like, well, that card isn't good anymore, doesn't see much play anymore, or it's, you know, rotated out. Why is it in such a high tier? Well, it's because the card used to be dominant or really good back in the day when it was a thing. So that is why that is like it. So anyways, I also want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Card Cavern TCG, before we get in the ranking. If you're ever looking for PCGO codes, get them over at Card Cavern TCG, and you can use code LDF for the checkout for a 5% discount on your purchase. Without further ado, guys, let's get into the ranking all the GX Pokemon ever. Alright, starting things off, guys, with the worst tier. And yes, I am doing this all on PCGO instead of editing the video and adding every single card. All the cards are on PCGO, so that's how we are going to be ranking them. So you might already kind of see what cards are already going to be in this tier. But we're going to start things off card by card. First off, we have Kangaskhan GX in the worst tier. I'm going to try to fly by these so this video isn't too long. Kangaskhan GX only works with like a few certain niche things, but it never saw play, never took off. It's pretty bad. And then next up, we have Tornadus GX. It's a pretty vanilla, plain Jane card, doesn't really do much, it's pretty bad. Then we have Beware GX. Its only trait would be its GX attack, but other than that, this card kind of sucks and doesn't really do much, and its damage output is also kind of miserable. And we have Alolan Raticate GX. When this card first came out, people thought it'd be good with Rotom, but turns out this card is not very good and is not worth it to play. So Raticate GX falls in the worst tier. Then we have one of the Dragonite GXs. Now this one is kind of cool. It's got that attack Dragon Porter where you can put 3 Dragon Pokemon from your discard pile onto your bench. So it's a really cool GX attack. However, it never sees play. It's a stage 2 Dragon type. Its attacks are a little costly. So yeah, that's why I never saw play. Then we have Como-O GX. Again, just another really bad card. Needs too much energy. It's a stage 2 Pokemon. Yeah. And then we have Wigglytuff GX. Yeah, Hidden Fates gave us some pretty bad GXs. Arguably the worst of the worst were from Hidden Fates. But yeah, Wigglytuff, just a pretty terrible card. Why would you ever use it when you have better cards like Guardian and Whimsicott? Its attacks are vanilla. They're pretty bad. Then we have Onix GX. It kind of hurts to put this in here because I actually thought this card was alright when it first came out, but it turns out it wasn't very good. Even with the few support cards it has with its Brock cards, it still doesn't see play and it still sucks. Then we have the Zygarde GX. Yeah, we have this Zygarde. I'm sure some of you people forgot about it. Zygarde GX, pretty bad card. This one is a lot worse than the Forbidden Light one. Even with Bonnie, this card never saw any play. Its attack Liberation is kind of cool, doing 120 for each energy in your opponent's hand. Other than that, though, this card never saw play, never will see play, and just sucks. Next up, we have Palossand GX, another pretty bad card. Pretty mediocre, weak attacks. Sandy Fear is okay, though. But I mean, other than that, this card never saw play. Its attacks are weak. Even with the fighting support this card has, it never caught any play because there's better fighting Pokemon. Then we have Machamp GX, which is cool, but not great. Even when it came out, when there were a few evolutions like Gardevoir GX, Zoroark GX, and Golisopod GX, this card still never saw any play at all. Crosscut is like decent, does 60 damage, and then 120 if your opponent's evolution. If your opponent's active is an evolution. Other than that, though, it never saw any play. It was a stage 2 Pokemon. It was too slow, and back then it wouldn't work. Then we have Entei GX, and again, even with Welder, which made Fire types so much better, this card never saw play. Even with its GX attack Break Burn, it can't even knock out a Dedenne on the bench, which kind of says everything you need to know about why this card never saw play. Then we have one of the many Charizard GXs we have received. We have the Charizard GX from Detective Pikachu, the worst of the worst. This card just flat out sucks. Its attacks are way too costly. It's a stage 2 Pokemon. It doesn't do enough damage as the Burning Shadows Charizard, which can do 300 for the same amount of energy, I think. Or I think it's maybe 1 fire more. But does less damage for the same energy. Not very good. Its GX attack is also very weak compared to the Flare Blitz Charizard we got from Hidden Fates. Then we have this Pinsir. This genuinely might be the worst GX ever printed. It's so vanilla. Its attacks literally do nothing. Like, there's no effect. It's just 110 damage, 160 damage. A 160 damage GX attack that has no effect is awful. Like, this card is a runner-up for one of the worst GXs ever printed. Then we have Shiftry GX, another, like, card that kind of got hype when it first came out in Celestial Storm, and then people realized it sucked. Its Den of Incuity attack is kind of cute. There have been some really cool combos with it in the past. Never that saw any play though, so just a bad card overall. Then we have Serena GX. When this card came out, I enjoyed playing it with Honor, but unfortunately, it never saw play. It's a stage 2 Pokemon once again, so it's very clunky, and it's very niche in order to work, so it just never saw much play. Then we have this new Pikachu GX. This thing just came out, but we already know this card is not very good because it's a very weak card. Even with Electro Power and Thunder Mountain, this card will still not see play. Then we have Raikou GX. Pretty much just another vanilla plain Jane card. Thunder's Rain is kind of cool, doing 100 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon with any energy on them, but that will never really be relevant, to be honest with you, so it never sees play. Then we have Thunder's GX, very much like that Tornadus GX we just talked about. But yeah, this card is just also pretty bad, and even with the support it has for the lightning types, it never sees any play. Then we have Zekrom GX here. Bullet Uppercut I thought was cool and all at first. A 1 energy attack that can do 70 damage to a GX. Combo that with Electro Power. Maybe this card could be good. Unfortunately, it never turned out to be good and just kind of flopped. And then we have Raichu GX, another pretty awful GX Pokemon. Just like Pinsir, it's super vanilla. Its attacks have no effects, they just do damage. It's just, yeah, it's a bad card. Then we have Alolan Golem GX. The only thing this card had going for it was the GX attack Heavy Rock, which forced your opponent to not play any cards from their hand during their next turn. Outside of that, this card never saw play. I tried it out, it was niche, it was cool, but it never saw play. Then we have Mawile GX. This card I was considering putting in the Met tier because the ability has its unique purposes, and I genuinely think this card might pop up in the future in a weird competitive deck. It saw a little bit of play, I think, in the Spider Lock deck, but Spider Lock never really took off into like a huge big deck. It was kind of a niche Italian deck. So Mawile is just a bad card. And then of course we have this Mewtwo GX, another very plain Jane vanilla card. I was originally going to try this out in Malamar, because Cycross doing 120 and discarding all the energy from your opponent's active is actually pretty deadly, in all honesty. Like, that's not that bad of an attack. And you never know, this might see play eventually, because the GX attack is actually not that bad, but for now, it doesn't see any play. And then we have another Mewtwo GX, the Detective Pikachu Mewtwo. Another bad card, way too much energy to do its attacks, and its attacks also just suck. Then we have Mr. Mime GX. We have Mr. Mime GX again. Both Mr. Mimes are on here because they never see play. They're very niche cards, and there are many ways your opponent can counteract and get around the ability. Then we have Toxapex GX. It's cool and all with the whole poison, but poison is pretty bad in the TCG. When this card was even relevant and playable, there were cards like Guzma and Acerola around, which pretty much canceled this card out completely. Then we have the Lunala GX here. It's a really cool, shiny gold card, but it does suck. The other Lunala was a lot better, and even that card never took off. Then we have Gyarados GX here from Crimson Invasion. I like playing this card as like a stall deck a while back, but that was an expanded, not in standard, and this card just sucked. It needs too much energy to attack, and that says about everything you need to know. And we have the other Gyarados GX from Hidden Fates. Another very bad vanilla card. I will say though, this card's Hyper Beam is a lot better than the other GXs on Wigglytuff and Pinsir and Raichu, but other than that, this card just sucks. Then we have Primarina GX to round out the worst tier here. Again, just a card that never saw any play, kind of sucked. It was a stage 2 Pokemon. Its attack Bumblebee, people were like, okay, maybe Aqua Patch can revive it. Nope. Didn't help the card at all. Lapras GX just bodied it in terms of being a better water type. And that is it for the worst tier, guys. I think Pinsir GX takes the crown for the worst card in this entire tier. Honorable mentions, I guess, would go to Raichu. And maybe this Gyarados. Again, the Hidden Fates GXs are just absolutely trash, except for, like, obviously a few of them, which we will get to eventually. But that's it for the worst tier. Let's move a tier up now. Alright, moving along, we now have the Met tier. So yeah, these are just cards that, like, they're cool and all, but they're not really that playable, but they're very niche at the same time. So first off, we have EVGX. really only sees play in Evolution decks, but even then, Energy Evolution Eevee was way better. Then we have Snorlax GX. The first GX we have ever received was Snorlax, which is kind of funny because Snorlax is also the first VMAX Pokemon. But Snorlax GX is pretty mediocre. Back when it came out, people did try it out with a few things, but it never really took off, so that's why it's in the Met tier. Then we have Gumshoe GX here. Pretty much just saw play in like mill decks and some hand control decks. Outside of that, didn't see much play. Then we had a Porygon Z. This is a fairly new card. That's why I actually put it in the Met tier, because it still might have potential to shine, but for now, it's slam dunk here. Then we got Guzzlord GX. Now, I know a lot of people might be wondering why is this here, because Guzzlord is like very popular on the ladder sometimes. Not exactly. This card only saw competitive play really at the end of its life cycle, and other than that, this card flopped and just didn't see much play. Then we have Hoopa GX, just another card that only sees play in standard Dark Box right now. And even then, that deck is not that great, so Hoopa just kind of falls into the Met tier. And then we have Yveltal GX, only sees play for Doom Count. It's pretty decent though, in all honesty. Being able to knock out tag teams is pretty important, but other than that, this card never saw play. Same thing with Alolan Muck. It's a cool card. When this card first came out, people did try it with Salazzle to try and make Chemical Breath work, but it didn't really take off. Umbreon GX, another kind of sad card to see on here. I know a lot of people really do like this, like Umbreon a lot. Unfortunately, Umbreon never really took off and never saw much play. When it first came out, people tried it out with a few things, but unfortunately, it never was able to get far. Then we have T-Tar GX, just another very niche card. It's a cool idea, and that's why I threw it in the Met tier. It's also one of my favorite GXs. Then we have Latios and Latias Tag Team GX. When this card came out, people thought it was good in Expanded with Double Dragon Energy, and also was good with Malamar. Unfortunately, it never took off, though it's not a bad card to be honest with you, but it's in the Met tier. Then we have White Kyurem GX, another card people tried out when it first came out in Expanded, unfortunately never took off. Same thing with Alolan Exeggutor here, saw play with like Venusaur and Vigavolt, but never really took off very far. It's a cool card, but like it just never really was able to take off. Then we have Salamence GX, the only play this card ever sees is in Fossil decks as a Lance card, and that's why it is right here in the Met tier. But Fossil decks aren't that great. Yeah, Mimikyu GX really only saw it play with Gardevoir and Sylveon. Other than that, it never saw much play otherwise, but it's not that bad of a card. Then we have Togepi, Clef, and Igglybuff. Now, this card might seem terrible, but because so many people want this card to work and people have built versions to build this thing up to make Supreme Puff work, it's good. And honestly, if you can pull off Supreme Puff, you technically can win the game. You know what I mean? So it's not that bad of a card, I would say. That's why it's in the Met tier. Then we have Lycanroc GX here from Team Up. It's alright. Twilight Eyes is cool and all. Then we have the other Lycanroc GX. When this card came out, people tried it out in Lycanroc. I remember back when Burning Shadows came out, I made like a 5 Lycanroc deck, had like all these different Lycanrocs in it. And we have Flygon GX. Kind of sad to put it here. Flygon's a really cool Pokemon. Unfortunately, though, this card doesn't really see much play. It's a fairly new card, though, so I don't want to put it in the worst tier. I think this card might work in the future. It never will be a best deck in format, but it'll be a fun deck. And then we have Reshiram GX. When this card first came out, people thought Vermilion was going to be really good, and then Reshiram never really took off as a Firebox deck, but it saw some play. Same thing with Blaziken. People tried out with the baby Blaziken, never took off. Then we have Charizard's Raging Out. This card is only being saved from the worst tier because of Raging Out actually being good in Mew 3. And honestly, Mew 3 Raging Out, very good combo. It also saw play, I think, in Sylveon decks. And then we have Incineroar here with Hustling Strike. Some people wanted this card to work, even when it first came out, and even to when Celestial Storm came out. I remember when Macargo came out, people really wanted this card to work, but it never took off. Then we have Pheromosa GX. It's just here because people like it for the Donk deck. Some people prefer Latios, some people prefer Pheromosa. Then we have Venusaur and Snivy GX here. Pretty decent card, obviously. Only sees play for the GX Attack Solar Plant and just in Malamar, but it's not the best Malamar partner to begin with. Then we have Venomoth GX, another card people tried out, tweaked with. It's a unique card with Janine, and it's pretty cool, but never took off. Electrode GX. Now, Electrode is maybe deserving to go up a tier when V Pokemon come out, because this card does work with V and VMAX Pokemon, but it never seen much play. Only saw play with Xerneas Break, and then I think Hippopotas was about it. Those never took off. Same thing with Ampharos GX. When it came out, people tried it out, see if it would work. Never took off, though. Then we have Vigavolt GX. Only saw play in Vigavolt decks. Then we have Celesteela here. I think it saw play a bit as like a Gardevoir GX counter. Other than that, it didn't see much play. Then we have the other Celesteela GX. I think the only thing this thing sees play for is, I think, in Stall decks. I'm pretty sure. That's why it's not in the worst tier. So I know some people have uses as like a one of in some decks. And then we have Dialga GX here with Timeless GX. Both Dragon and Metal Dialga both are in this spot pretty much. But Timeless is pretty busted. Tried it with Liepard. It's pretty cool. And some people do like it with Magnezone and Mewtwo. Then we have Genesect GX. Could move up a tier depending on how well Genesect Amulet decks ever do, if they ever do take off. But if Genesect Amulet decks take off, Genesect GX might go up a tier. But for now, it's chilling here. It also sees Niche play in Tool Drop, but that's not even that great of a deck. And we got our Scizor GX. I really did like this card when it first came out. Unfortunately, kind of flopped, didn't take off. Mewtwo GX here from Shining Legends. Mainly only saw play in Malamar for Psy Strike, and other than that, this card didn't see much play. Lil Muck GX. People liked it at first when it came out, tried it out, never really took off. People did realize it was decent in Mew 3 decks a little while back. Other than that, it's fallen off. And then we got Nihilego GX. When it first came out, people tried it with Serena, and of course with Darkrai GX. That's about it. Well, I tried it with those two anyways. Then we have Solgaleo Lunala GX. Some people might be pretty mad that this is in the Met tier and not a tier higher. The reason why it's in the second last tier is because it's not a great card. It's okay with Malamar. I know some people want to try it with it, but I don't think it's that great. There's better Malamar partners, and that's why it's here. Then we got Lunala GX. When this card first came out, there's actually some pretty cool combos you could use with it. Of course, there's like, I think, Lugia GX, Tauros GX, or Lugia EX, sorry. And then we had like Wobbuffet. But then once Zora came out, this card got just erased off with the existence of the Pokemon TCG. And then we got Suicune GX. Pretty simple, standard card. Some people played it in some water decks. Feeny, I don't know if I really wanted to put it in the Met tier, but it doesn't see much play, and the only play it ever saw was as a one-of in Golisopod Garbodor decks. And then we have Wishy-Washy. The reason I'm not putting this Wishy-Washy in the Met tier is because, or in the worst tier, sorry, where some people might think it belongs. Because I actually think School Storm and Expanded is kind of cool. And then we have Wishy-Washy GX here. This would be in the worst tier, but because it became its own stall archetype, I had to put it in this tier. And then we got Starmie GX, just another pretty mech card. It's got a few support cards to make it work. It's fairly better than Onyx GX. That's why it's not a tier lower. So that is the Met tier. The best card in the Met tier probably would be maybe, I don't know, that's a tough one. I want to say like maybe like Tapu Fini, maybe Hoopa. Like Hoopa's not that bad either. Is in a dark box deck. Maybe Umbreon too. Maybe Flygon. Charizard GX is I guess a potential too. Let's move up now to our next tier. Alright guys, starting things off in the decent tier. The decent tier is going to be cards that are cool, they're decent, they're not great, they're not good, but they're decent. You know, they're fairly good. Fairly average, I should say. And then we got Moltres, Zapdos, Articuno. Now this card, when it first came out, I tried it with Victini. It was cool and all. Right now, it's actually seeing play with Ho-Oh and with ADP. Maybe this card deserves to be bumped up a tier, in all honesty. But it's still like kind of new, and it still has potential to shine. Then we have Mega Teacher Sableye. Really, this card only sees play in standard Dark Box decks, and even then, standard Dark Box is not super amazing. Still, though, this card is pretty good in those decks. Then we got a Alolan Persian, very new card, so we don't really know how good it is quite yet. Because the ability is strong and powerful, can win you games, I gotta put in the decent tier. And then we have Honchkrow GX. I know it saw play with Hunter Butler's Stunfisk Spiritomb deck, and in Expanded right now, it's actually pretty popular to counter Ultra Necrozma and a lot of other Expanded decks. Then we have Incineroar GX with Scar Charge. I mean, yeah, it's a pretty standard, decent card. I got Palkia GX. It's in the decent tier because it only really saw play in Archie's Toys as like a one-of. Then we got Altaria GX. Sees a little bit of play with Mewtwo. Outside of that, it doesn't really catch much play. Then we got Dragonite GX, another decent card that saw play with Mewtwo at first. Now it's kind of fallen off. The Mewtwo deck doesn't play Dragonite anymore, but originally it did. Then we have Xerneas GX here. Only sees play as like a one of Guardian. Still enough to put in the decent tier though. Then we got Machamp Marshadow. Saw play in some fighting toolbox decks and saw a bit of play I think with Zapdos. And we got Zygarde GX, the better Zygarde GX from Forbidden Light. Unfortunately, it's just not as good as people wanted to be. Even with the new Baby Zygarde, it was never enough for this card to really be pushed as a good deck. Still though, it's a decent card regardless. It's good and Expanded. And then we got Aerodactyl GX here. Another like decent card. It's kind of like the face of some fossil decks. And then also, I think it's cool with Ditto and Wild Dive. And its ability is also strong. Then we have a little Marowak. It's just only here because it saw play in Expanded Mew 3, and it actually made a big difference in that deck. Then we have Macario GX, another Mew 3 card. There's actually quite a few Mew 3 cards in this decent tier. But this card made Mew 3 decks better because it allowed them to beat control mill deck or control stall decks sometimes. Then we got Volcarona GX. I want to put it in the decent tier because it's fairly new. It's still a cool card. It still might see play in the future. Fire types are still really bonkers, so this card might see play eventually. We have Alolan Exeggutor Rowlet, a card that I might want to bump up to the good tier. I know Eggrow was really good, but like in standard, Exeggutor never really sees much play, so I can't really put it any higher than just the decent tier. I will say this card might be the best card in the entire tier, though. Then we got Shuckle GX, just a stall mill card. Yeah, stall card. Then we have Virizion. I'm putting the decent tier because it's cool in Unknown Hand decks, and it's also pretty cool when Shintaro Ito tried it out in his Vileplume deck. And then we have Sceptile GX, just another decent card. Sees a bit of play in some grass decks. Not anymore, but back then it did. And then we have Vileplume GX, another fairly new card. This card's actually making a bit of a name for itself, in my opinion. It's cool in Eggrow. It's also pretty cool with Eggrow in standard, not just expanded. So it's a decent card, and I think it's enough to put it in the decent tier for now. Same with Xurkitree. I just, again, like Shuckle. It can win you games, but yeah, that's about it. Then we have Cobalion GX. It was a pretty cool card in Mewtwo. It used to be a pretty bad GX card, but because Mewtwo played it, it Worlds. It did decent, so it's a decent tier card. Stack Attack, I'm being nice and putting in the decent tier. This is like a meh tier card in my eyes, but I'm being nice putting in the decent tier because Ultra Beast decks had the hype when this card came out. People tried it out, and they never took off, but you know what? I think it's enough to put in the decent tier. We got Melmetal GX in here too. It's a fun card to play. That's why it's in the decent tier. It's got some cool combos now with Red and Blue and Magnezone. And then we got Oricorio GX, another card that's fairly new. Now, some people do like this card because it's a cool ability, but it's worse than Persian. Some people don't like this card because it's an easy great catcher target. Still, though, it's not a bad card. People are testing it out. This card easily could bump up a few tiers depending on how much play it sees. Then we got Sigilif, just kind of made a difference for mirror counter. Some people played it just for mirror counter. It sees play in some decks, so yeah, thought I threw it here. I'm going to put Bana in the decent tier. This one might also be another questionable decent tier pick. Maybe it should be up into the good tier. Still, I'm going to put it in the decent tier. I think it's cool. It saw some play, and I think it was like a Zorg Bana deck that was pretty good too. Then we got Blastoise Piplup. Yeah, it sees play with Silvally and Quagsire right now. Other than that, doesn't really see much play. However, with Frostmoth, this card easily could go up a tier. I'm gonna put Slowduck here. People like to play this deck because it's a meme deck. You got two derpy Pokemon put together in a tag team card. What's not to love about it? It's a decent card, honestly. It's not that bad. We got Tapu Fini. I already did that. Rip. And then we got Vaporeon GX here with Hydrating Drops. I know Peter Kika made like a Vaporeon Keldeo deck that was pretty cool. And Vaporeon's not a bad card either. I think it's a decent card. It could still see play, especially with Frostmoth. That's why it's in the decent tier. And I'll put Leafeon in here. This card got a lot of hype when it first came out in the Decidueye Leafeon archetype. That deck never took off. I still think it's enough to put in the decent tier though, because it's still a cool card. Then we got Blastoise GX. I threw it in the decent tier because there was like the Blastoise team up Blastoise GX combo deck at first, and then Blastoise GX and Blastoise Mew 3 also. So yeah, I think it's a decent tier card. Then we got Greninja GX rounding out the decent tier. I think it deserves to be in the decent tier, not only just because of Shintaro's Meganium deck, but its niche play using Shuriken Flurry like the bats were kind of relevant. But I think like Shintaro really was enough to make this card be in the decent tier with that insanely cool rogue deck. So that is it for the decent tier. The best card in the decent tier I think is going to be Exeggutor and Bird Trio. And that's about it for the decent tier. I didn't mean to put Tapu Fini in here, but yeah, this is our decent tier. Well, actually, before we move on to the good tier, I forgot to say there are two GX Pokemon that have been unreleased, and that is going to be Alolan Sandslash and, of course, Carracosta GX. Now, these cards are okay, and they're decent in Japan. We don't know yet how they're going to translate into our American format, so I think just putting them in the decent tier, sort of in the middle, I think is pretty fair for those two GXs. Until they come out, we don't know what impact they'll make yet, so I don't want to put them too high. Though they are cool in Japan, there are some niches for them. I think Carracosta is a pretty good card too, but for now I'm going to put them in the decent tier. We don't know what they're going to do just yet, but I think they are good enough to at least make some impact pre-evaluation, so I'm going to slam them right here in the decent tier. Alrighty guys, now we're in the good tier. Now these are cards that are good. Some of these cards on this list might have been niche, but they made a big enough impact to put them in the good tier. First off, we have Lugia GX here in the good tier. Just because Lost Purge is pretty insane, the way it works. You throw a big Pokemon with a lot of energy on it straight in the Lost Zone. They can't get those cards back. It's just a really cool card. That's why it's in here. Then we got Tauros GX. When this card first came out, it was actually a bit of a threat. That's why it's in the good tier. Obviously, over time, it dwindled in play. But it first came out, I think it was enough to slam it in the good tier. Then we got Persian GX. I mean, this card, it's good. Honestly, I might want to put it up into the great tier, but I don't think it's great tier material. It's a very niche card. It's, you know, you got your Persian Checkmate deck, and then you also have the fact that this card made a huge impact at the end of Zoroark GX's life cycle with Persian and Ganadel Stinger Checkmate. So I can't say this card is like in the great tier. I think it's a good tier card. It might be one of the best cards in this tier, though. Next up, we have Silvally in the good tier. It's dwindled in play, but at first it did see play with, you know, itself, and then in Zoroark, Silvally saw some play. It had the memory cards to make it work, but it never really took off. Then we have Darkrai GX. Again, it's just here for Dead End. Dead End is an insane card in Expanded, so that's why it's in this tier. Then we got Greninja Zoroark. In Standard, this card doesn't see much play. However, in Expanded, this card is arguably one of the best Expanded decks. That's why it's a good tier card. Then we have Umbreon Darkrai. It's a pretty good card. It's like almost the face of the standard Dark Box deck, so that's why here I put it in the good tier. But again, Dark Box is not super amazing. That's why Weavile's in the good tier too. It's not a super amazing card, and arguably I might want to bump this up into the great tier. It's pretty much just like Persian. It's like only sees play in one deck, so I don't really know if I should bump it up to the great tier or if it should stay in the good tier. It might be one of the better cards right now in the good tier because there's a great card in Dark Box and Expanded, and Dark Box and Standard, which isn't, you know, the most popular in a great deck, still sees play. I put Reshiram and Zekrom here. I mean, yeah, this card did flop, but you know what? I think it's still a good card. The niche ways people are playing it are with Ho-Oh and Expanded, and then also as a one-of in Raichu Nuzzle decks, so I think it's good enough to be in the good tier for now. Then we got Noivern in the good tier. It's a decent card, you know, it saw its play in the limelight when it first came out, and then of course, in Expanded right now, it's, you know, pretty decent in like Mew 3 decks. I got Whimsicott GX in the good tier too. It's a fun troll card, but it is enough to make it work. And right now in Japan, apparently Whimsicott's winning stuff, so I don't know, maybe it's going to get better with the Sword and Shield set. But yeah, I put Whimsicott in the good tier. It's a fun troll card, and I think it's good enough to be in the good tier. Then we got Marshadow and GX in the good tier. Again, this card is great in Expanded. That's really only why it's here, is because of its play in Expanded. I don't think it saw much play in Standard when it was in its prime, but in Expanded right now, it's good in Night March. It's a good one-of in a lot of decks that play basics as a way to counter Pokemon that are weak to fighting. I put Ho-Oh in the good tier too, because Ho-Oh Kiawe was a deck. It saw play. It was a good deck. It's enough to put in the good tier. Same with Turtonator, pretty much just Ho-Oh 2.0. Then we got Salazzle GX, again, Ho-Oh 2.0. Then we got Lurantis GX here. It saw some play here and there throughout its time, so I thought it was enough to slam it in the good tier. It might be more of a decent tier, not a good tier card, but when this card was relevant back in the day when Sun and Moon was fairly new, this card was still good. I put Dustmane in here. This card never took off like people wanted it to. People still wanted it to work, and it still had its niche plays. People tested Dustmane out, so that's why it's in the good tier. A one-shot stuff, that was enough to make this card want to see play when it was, you know, kind of new and in its prime. That's why I put it here in the good tier. I got Kartana in the good tier. Again, it's just here for its ability, similar to how Lugia was here for one specific thing. This card was specifically here for Zoro Garb decks, and that's why it's in this tier. Solgaleo GX is also in the good tier. Yeah, Solgaleo Metagross is a good deck. It was never an insanely good deck because it was a stage 2. It was a little bit of a slower deck too, right? So it never was able to take off. Still, I think Solgaleo was enough to slam it in the good tier. Then we got Jirachi GX here. It's really only here because it was good in Mew 3. That's literally about it. Not anymore though. Some people prefer Weak Guard Energy. I got Espeon GX here in the good tier too. Espeon Garbodor was a pretty decent deck, though Drampa Garb was able to overtake that archetype's popularity. Still, Espeon was good enough to be in here. I got Flareon GX in here too. It's not a bad card. I thought it'd be good enough to be in the good tier, so I thought I'd put it in here. Glaceon GX also put in the good tier too. When, you know, Zoroark and stuff were really popular, people really liked this card because it blocked Tapu Lele, it blocked Trade. It's just good enough to be good, and people wanted to play it for that reason. I got Articuno in the good tier. Man, when this card first came out, this was a bad card. But because this card has really changed the way people play control decks, I really think this card puts itself in the good tier. Then we got Lapras GX, another good tier card. I kind of feel bad maybe for not putting in the great tier, but I mean, over time it stopped seeing play, and Water Box isn't that popular in Expanded. But when it was around, there was the Quad Lapras deck. There was, of course, Lapras Aqua Patch decks. It was enough to have it in the good tier. I got Greninja GX to round out the good tier here. Again, it's a great card for Mew 3 deck. It's one of the only ways Mew 3 can deal with Keldeo right now. So that's why I have put Greninja GX here in the good tier. So that is it for the good tier, guys. The best card in the good tier, I think, would either go to Persian GX, Weavile GX, and maybe Umbreon Darkrai or Greninja Zoroark. I think the two are going to be Weavile, though. and Persian. I think the worst card in this tier goes to either Turtonator or Flareon. But outside of that, that's the good tier. We're going to move on to the great tier now, which are going to be cards that are great. They saw play, they didn't make the biggest impact, they didn't define the format, but they were still really good decks. And that is what the great tier will be all about here when we get to it. Alright guys, we have the great tier now, and these are cards that are great. They saw lots of play, but they weren't like the defining GXs, you know what I mean? They weren't like the cards that shaped the way the game was played, but they're still great cards. Starting things off, we have Drampa GX here. Saw play with Zoroark, saw play with Garbodor. It's enough to put in the great tier. I got Evilax in the great tier too. For the time being, it was in the Welder decks, it was in the Kiawe decks, and it was a great counter to Zoroark, and it's deserving, and also saw play with Archies, but it was deserving enough to put it in the great tier. Then we got Sovali GX. This is a little ballsy to put it in this tier. I think this card is great. I think it's enough to be in the great tier. I might want to bump it down, though, a tier, honestly, but I think it's still a pretty great card. I'm going to put it in the great tier. It's fairly new, right? We got Tina Chomp here, too. When it first came out, it wasn't as good, but honestly, now it's seen a lot of play, and it's a good card. It's seen not only play with Malamar now, and actually being able to be good with Malamar, but it's also seen play with Miss Magius and Roxy, so I think this card deserves to be in the great tier. I'm going to put Nagaguz in here, too. The deck has actually fallen off in popularity, but honestly, the deck kind of came out of nowhere, and I think it made a very big enough impact for it to be in the great tier. I got Nagandel GX in the great tier, too. I think it's a great card in Mew 3 decks. Also, it's pretty cool in some niche archetypes where Ultra Conversion can work. Obviously, it's good with Blacephalon, so I think it's enough to put it in this tier. I got Nagandel GX in the great tier too. The other one was Stinger, because I think this card is deserving to be in here. And it not only did it see play originally as its Beast Box decks, people did want those decks to work, but then it saw quite a bit of play for the Checkmate decks. It's like the face of Checkmate decks. And then, of course, it allowed Zoroark to win in Internationals before Zoroark left the format. I got a little Ninetales here with Mysterious Guidance in the great tier. Right now, it's not seeing that much play, but when this card first came out, it did see quite a bit of play, and it was enough for Stage 2 decks to make a bit of a comeback. I got a little Ninetales GX, the water one, because when this card was new, this card was one of the best partners with Decidueye. So, yeah, that's why it's in this tier, because it was a great partner with Decidueye. I got Sylveon GX here, too. Yeah, you can see why it's here. Because it was the OG Control Mill stall card back when Guardians Rising came out. This card was really hyped up. People thought it was one of the best cards in this set. So, I want to put it in this tier. I think it is a really good card, and it is enough for it to be in this tier. I really do. I got Lucario GX in here. This is honestly one of the most defining tech cards we have maybe seen out of all the GX techs we've seen so far. I think Lucario is like maybe the defining of them all, because this card, back when like Team Up and stuff was big, this card saw so much play to counter Pika-Rom, to counter Zoroark. It's pretty bonkers how much play this card saw as a tech card. So I'm going to put it in the great tier. I got Breakstart in the great tier too. It's a pretty good card. Sees quite a bit of play right now. It's a pretty powerful card too. I got Heatran in here. This is another defining card for Welder decks, because there's so many cool plays you can do with Hot Burn. If you're able to pull off a Hot Burn one-shot, it's pretty bonkers, and it's on a 190 HP non-tag team Pokemon, so I think Heatran deserves to be in the great tier. I got Celesaur in the great tier too. You know, it saw quite a bit of play when it, was new and stuff, so I think it's deserving to be in this tier. I got Buzzmosa in the great tier too. Again, another pretty good card. Obviously, it didn't see as much play with the Beast Ring with Magius deck as I originally thought, but the Beast Game thing it was able to pull off was good. So, yeah, it saw play with cool things. It was like a one-of for Beast Game. Saw play in Quagsire. It's seen play with ADP right now, too. So, I think it deserves to be in the great tier. I got Taboo Bulu in the great tier. Vika Bulu, pretty iconic and classic deck, to be honest with you. It might be one of the most iconic decks from the Sun and Moon era in general, so that's why I got Bulu in here. I got Glisspot in here, of course, the original OG Zoroark partner. When Tord broke through with that Zoropod deck, Zoroark took off and skyrocketed in popularity, and Glisspot was right behind it. I got Alolan Raichu in here too. It's a great card for Pika-Rom decks, that's why it's in here. I got Tapu Koko GX in here. Really, it's near the end of its kind of time in Standard is when this card really started to pick up a lot of play in Zapdos and Pika-Rom decks. But it was a defining card in those decks. Same thing as Zeraora, just for your treat. Great card. Helped those decks out quite a bit. I got Lucario Melmetal tag team in the great tier too, because it is a great tier card. It's a great card. Heavy Impact is a great attack. Steel Fist is great. Full Metal Wall is good. Saw play in Stall. Saw play with Green Welder. So it's a great card. I got Metagross GX in the great tier too. Metagross, when it was, still relevant, it was a pretty decent deck and people did like it. So that's why I got it in the great tier. I got Solgaleo here with Turbo Strike in the great tier. It's one of the best Mewtwo partners right now. That's why it's in the great tier. I got Dawnwings in the great tier too, because when Malamar was kind of in its prime, not now, but back then when it was more of in its prime with Ultra Necrozma and stuff, and normal Necrozma, this card was so good in those decks. And it really did help against the Buzzwole decks, so that's why this card is in the great tier. I got Gengar Mimikyu in the great tier too. I'm going to put it in here because I think it's a great card. It might not be good enough to be in the great tier, but I'm going to throw it in here because I'm nice, and I like this card a lot in those Omastar decks. I got Latios GX in the great tier too. Obviously, it's a great counter to tag team decks. People have won games because this card is quite literally unstoppable. I got Necrozma in here too. It was one of the best Malamar decks at the time. Black Ray's good and expanded too. I got Trevenor in the great tier. This is another new card, so it's very debatable as to whether or not it should be in the great tier. But I'm going to be ballsy, and I'm going to put it in the great tier because I think this is a good card, and it's probably going to see a lot of play too with Sword and Shield. Especially because we get the new arts with this card, and this card is actually seeing quite a bit of play in Japan. I got Whaler Carp to round out the great tier because it's Whaler Carp. He's your boy. He's got the Towering Splash. That's all you need to say. This card, Towering Splash, defined this card pretty much. And that is the great tier. I think the worst card in the great tier, I think, would go to Naked Guz. The best card in the great tier? That's a tough one. I'd either give it to maybe Tina Chomp and Snorlax and Drampa. I think Drampa and Snorlax are going to take the 2 crowns for the best card in the great tier. The worst card is either going to go to Nagaguz or Silvally because they're fairly new, but I'm going to say it was right to put them in this tier. We're going to move on to the God tier now, guys, because the God tier, these are going to be the best of the best. The defining cards is going to be the God tier. Alright guys, we now have the God tier. The God tier, the best of the best. These cards all changed the way people built their decks, the way people wanted to play. The cards that just changed the game pretty much. And we're going to start things off with Megalopunny Jigglypuff. A fairly new card, but let's be honest, people have been scared to play certain decks because of the fact that Jumping Balloon is such a powerful attack. Of course, this effectively almost killed off Pikarom from our standard format, so I got to put it on here. Of course, we have Zoroark GX next. Now, these aren't in any order, by the way, but we'll talk about that at the end here. But yeah, Zoroark GX, of course, defining card of maybe all the GXs. It's just so good. Trade, Raij's beating, just insane. Tord really made this card work. Then we got ADP, another new card, but it is changing the way the standard format is being played right now. A lot of one prize rogue decks have really fallen off the face of the earth because of this card's existence. Then we got Rayquaza GX. Again, this was a pretty powerful card, pretty good deck. Ray Vikavolt was really good back when that deck was in its prime. It's good and expanded. It even sees play for its ability sometimes too. I got Ultra Necrozma in here. This is arguably the best Malamar partner, other than Giratina, obviously. But this is like the best GX Malamar partner. And Ultra Squids is just really good. I got Guardian in here. Guardian's a great deck. It's just really good. It's seen a lot of play right now in Standard. In Expanded, it's also considered one of the best decks. It's just a really powerful card, especially with all the stuff it has to work with. I got the other Gardevoir, yeah, Gardevoir GX. Both Gardevoir GXs land right in the God tier. Gardevoir GX was one of the best decks. Came out, won Worlds, pretty simple. I got Buzzwole in here. Buzzwole was like, at one point, like the face of the format. It countered Zoroark, and then you had Dawnwings, Malamar that countered Buzzwole. You had a little bit of a triangle going. Buzzwole was in that triangle, and I think Buzzwole is definitely one of the most defining GXs in the standard format from the Sun and Moon era. I got Lycanroc GX in here too. It's a pretty classic partner for Buzzwole and also for Zoroark, and I think its attack Bloodthirsty Eyes and even Dangerous Rogue really did change the way people played the game. You know, you had to be careful what you benched. You also had to watch out how many Pokemon you did bench, and that's why this card was so good. I got Blacephalon in this tier too. Blounds is just a really good deck. It's that simple. It's an amazing deck. It's a very powerful deck. Did well at Worlds. Took second at Worlds actually this year. So Blounds right in the God tier. Of course, we got to put Reshizard in the God tier too. It's Reshizard, Welder, Reshizard, insane. You know, this card is bonkers. How much play we'll see with Sword and Shield will really, I think, judge this card's popularity. But I think because it's such a defining card in our game right now, and even if it falls off in popularity with Sword and Shield, this card will forever be in the God tier. I got Decidueye GX in here too. Obviously, over time, this card dwindled in popularity, but Decidueye Plume at one point was the best deck in the format. Decidueye Alolan Ninetales was also really good. When Force of Giant Plants was around, this card was insane. And even Zoroark Decidueye eventually caught some play too near the end. Dedenne, yeah, of course Dedenne is going to be in the great tier. It's Dedenne, right? Dede Change, one of the best abilities in Standard right now. It's really, really good. Super important card. With the new supporter rule change, this card will probably just stay in the God tier forever. It's like an amazing card, obviously. I got Pikarom in here too. Pikarom, obviously, at one point was the best deck. Pretty simple why it's in here. It is Pikarom. Then I got Espeon Deoxys in here. I really hate this card a lot. I despise this card. I think it's a toxic card. But you can't deny how good this card has become and how much it has shaped our meta game. It's super good in Malamar, super good in Mew 3. It's Espeoxys. Speaking of Mew 3, of course I gotta put Mew 3 in here. I think Mew 3 is like the out of like the best tag teams. I think we got Mew 3, Pika, and Reshizard are like the 3 defining tag team Pokemon, and Mew 3 of course is there. Right now, some people consider Mew 3 to be the best deck in our current standard format, and expanded Mew 3 is also insanely good. Of course, Tapu Lele's got to be on here, the good old Tapu Lele. At one point, this card was one of the best and most expensive GXs to get. Nowadays, it's extremely cheap, but of course, Lele always saw play when it was around. And rounding things out, I put Keldeo in here. This is ballsy, I know, but I think Keldeo has made ADP insane. Like, Keldeo has changed the way people have had to build their decks because they need some way to counter this card. If you don't have a counter to Keldeo, you're screwed. I think that's why it's in the God tier. Now, to be fair, because right now in our current Cosmic Clips-On format, Keldeo is ridiculously good. I think for now it's gonna stay in the God tier. I think probably when Sword and Shield comes out, this card will, you know, just plummet because V Pokemon. But for now, it's an insanely good card. Some decks have no way to counter it. Some decks have very limited counters to it. And it has really, Keldeo has really changed the way people have had to build their decks recently because they need some way to stop this card. And that is why it's in this tier. So this is the God tier, guys. The best card in the God tier, I think hands down, no debate, is going to be Zoroark GX. Like, there's no debate there. Zoroark is the best GX card we have ever seen. It is maybe just one of the best cards we have ever seen, period. It's going to have to go to Zoroark for the crown. The worst card in this tier, Keldeo, obviously. Yeah, that's the God tier, guys. I think like the best 3 tag teams, or the best 3 GXs we have ever seen are going to go to Zoroark GX. I'm going to give it to Tapu Lele GX in second place. And in third place, I'm going to give it to maybe Mewtwo? I don't know. It's either Mewtwo or Pika. It's one of those two. I want to give it to that. Buzzwole's also a runner-up for one of the best GX I've ever seen. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I don't think I missed any GX Pokemon. Like, I made sure I didn't. Hopefully I did. If you guys think I missed a GX Pokemon, let me know. What do you guys think is the best GX we have ever seen? What's your favorite GX Pokemon we've ever seen? Let me know down below. This is going to be a little bit of a tribute video to GX Pokemon and, of course, tag teams and all that good stuff. If you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like. This took quite a while to make and put together. It's going to be a great way to start the new year off. GX Pokemon are going to be gone, and we are going to go into the V Pokemon era of cards. GXs will still be around for forever, pretty much, obviously, but they're eventually going to leave the game when Standard rotates out every Sun and Moon set. So, goodbye, Sun and Moon. Thank you for giving us an insane TCG season, and I will see you guys on another PDCGO video. Check out our sponsor card, Kevin TCG, down below, too. Of course, use code LDF. Follow me on Twitter. Drop a like on the video, show your support, and I'll see you guys later. Sub to also to the channel, and bye.